welcome to all of our guests. Thanks for joining us. We wouldn't be here without you guys. So, as Dennis said, we've tried to have some programming geared toward the children who are stuck in the house right now due to COVID-19. And today we will go over Liberian proverbs, folklore, and parables. Um, to add to our discussion today, we have Dr. Vivian Seton here with us. She's not a stranger to us here at Focus on Liberia. So welcome, Dr. Seton, and thanks for joining us for the discussion for today's show.
Thank you, Dr. Knuckles. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you. Okay, so just to get started, I'm going to give the definition of a proverb. So a proverb is a short, popular saying, usually of unknown and ancient origin, that expresses effectively some commonplace truth or useful thought, also known as an adage. And that's the definition that dictionary.com gives. So again, that's a short, popular saying that expresses effectively some commonplace truth or useful thoughts. Okay, so I'm going to get into some of those proverbs. The first one that I have is from Dennis's blog, stereotypeliberia.wordpress.com. He has a long list of like over 100 proverbs. So we're just going to touch some of them, and Dr. Seton will also share some of the proverbs with us as well. So the first one we have is one tree cannot make a forest. So Dennis, what does that mean?
Well, Danielle, first of all, I want to say thank you. And Proverbs, as you correctly defined that, a wise saying. So when in the African setting, when people are having a discussion, you use these proverbs so as to, make something clearer or teach a lesson, or sometimes people get insight from it. So one tree cannot make a forest, meaning we are from a collective culture. So selfishness or being self-centered is often decried. So you tell someone one tree cannot make a forest, meaning you cannot do things on your own. As a village, as a people, we need one another so as to accomplish anything. So one tree, and similar proverb to that is say one finger cannot pick a lice, or one finger cannot get salt from the jar. So it takes two fingers together to pick a lice or to get the salt from a cup. The same way one tree cannot make a forest. You need me, I need you for us to accomplish something.
Thanks. I definitely think that's applicable to Liberia and our just current situation, that we have to have everyone pitching in to help us solve our own problem. But Dr. Seton, what is one that you have for us today?
Okay, let me just say something. Liberians,
Sorry, Dr. Seton. Danielle, can you repeat that?
No, I was saying that Liberians, when they're talking, like to use proverbs. So we have a lot of proverbs in Liberia. And then people use proverbs on a daily basis, or as much as they can. So to begin with, I have one here that says that there's a certain type of rain that brings goat and sheep together. Okay? So can you translate it, Mr. Jaya? There's a certain type of rain that brings goat and sheep together.
Right. In the village setting, when it is raining, especially, the kind of little rain. When it rains, every animal or everybody will run away from the rain, right, and come under a roof. Normally, can be something like a balcony or somewhere. So it doesn't matter. The goats and the sheep will come together under that roof to run away from the rain. And that means there are certain conditions. When conditions happen, there's no discrimination. Okay, when these things happen, it affects all of us. even though prior the goats and the sheep would not come together, they would not mingle, but because of the rain, they find themselves under one roof. They are faced with a common problem, and so they band together or they come together to address that issue, or they are forced to live together because of that issue.
And,
Okay, that's a good interpretation. Yes.
yeah, that's a good one. What also comes to mind, I remember hearing growing up that America was the great equalizer, right? And I guess that was said usually in relation to the war and Liberian refugees coming to America. So whether you were rich or poor, or Kunga or indigenous, everybody had to run for cover or run for refuge to America, and everyone was starting at the same level. So in that, I see that the war was that reign, that it wasn't a respecter of persons. And it caused everyone, people who had never really mingled before or went to school together before, to be in the same situation. So yeah, that's a good one.
Mhm.
Um, I guess in keeping with the rain as a theme, I have another one here that says, when during a heavy downpour of rain, your bucket did not get filled, do you expect the dew to fill it? So what's that?
Right. So opportunities come, right? So when at a time you have the opportunity, you don't make use of it. Now, if it is gone, that what do you expect? There are a lot of people who at a time, maybe let's say you have your parents at a time you have the time to do something. If you don't achieve it, when it's become late, or if those opportunities are gone. So in a village setting, we collect water when it's raining. So while it is raining, you bring all your stuff outside to collect the water so that you can use it to drink, to take bath, and do a whole lot of things. So it is at this point that you need to your water need to be your bucket need to be filled. If you miss that opportunity, and then the dew is very small, the dew cannot even fill a cup. So at the time it is raining, that's the time you should collect your water. If the rain is out and you're trying to collect water from the dew, good luck.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a good one. Yes.
And Dr. Seton, your voice is low, so if you can a little louder when you're
Okay.
talking.
Okay, I will speak up. Okay.
Okay.
All right. With goat, right? So let's see. There's another one that says goat luck different from sheep luck, right?
Mm.
Yep. Yes. You see, our people use animals in their parables and in their proverbs. We use a lot of animals, so that we like to talk about the goat, you know. So, Mr. Jad.
uh, Goat luck and sheep luck are not the same. Meaning we have our individual differences. Most of the time, our individual differences or your own personality or what works for you may not work for the other person. So if Daniel went somewhere and is fortunate to get something, I I should not say because Daniel has it, I should have it too. Because Daniel's love or what Daniel is qualified for may be different from what I'm qualified for, or what the blessing Daniel has, or the favors, or who will look at Daniel kindly may not look at me kindly. So we have our individual differences. We may not have the same thing coming our way, but we should individually try to strive for what is good for us, realizing that we are all different and we may not have the same opportunities, we may not have the same challenges, and we may not have even the same issues or the same problem facing us. So sheep luck and good luck are not the same.
Hmm.
That's good. And even with the those last two proverbs, I think about what comes to mind, are unfortunately some Liberians who have been deported, from the US, or the diaspora back to Liberia. For one, you're in the diaspora, you're in America, you're in Europe, you have all these opportunities. Um, and yet maybe you want to break the law or something of that nature, and then you're deported. And when you get to Liberia, now you realize the opportunities that you've lost. Now you want to be a better person, but the same opportunities do not exist in Liberia.
Bingo. That's the correct interpretation because, and they will tell you the time it was raining, you didn't collect the water. Now with the dew, or and sometimes what they will tell you is another parable proverb that is similar to that is they will also tell you at a time when we say rabbit, but actually rabbits are not in Liberia. But this animal we call it rabbit, but it's not rabbit. In my hometown we call it nemo. So at a time, Noah was on top of the hill and stretches his foot. It did not reach to heaven. Now Noah is in the valley. You expect Noah's foot to reach to heaven? Of course not. The opportunities are not there. So that's what they will tell you.
That's true. And even with, goat luck is different from sheep luck. Same thing with a lot of the, deportees. It's different for your friend who is an American citizen to commit crimes. When they go to jail, when they're released, they'll be released back home to the US. Whereas, if you are a green card holder, when you're released, you can be released to Liberia, So you have to make better decisions when you have good opportunities. Another one that I hear a lot and that you have on your blog, Mr. Jaw, is you can't eat crab with shame. So what is that?
You can't use crab with shame. Mm-hmm.
So a crab, anytime you are eating a crab, you are cracking the shells, they make a lot of noise. So that kind of shame is not the shame. It's like you can eat crab while you are shy. It's kind of that shyness. So there is no way you can eat crab and still maintain that shy face because people will hear the sound that you are eating, right? And they will and they will know that you are eating. So you can't hide it. So there are certain things that you need to say boldly. You have to come up. You have to be upfront with certain issues. You cannot beat about the bush. Neither can you pretend that this doesn't exist. You must, be upfront with it. No eating crab with shame.
That's a good one. And also crab is when you eat crab, let's say you cook the crab in palm butter, right? When you look at it, all the palm butter and the juice from the crab is spilled. So most of the clothes and people will see the food around your mouth. So it's empty. Again, this crab is shame. People will do eating the crab. You didn't eat it, you will see it.
All right.
Suppose we take one that says it takes a village to raise a child. Okay. Danielle, you want to answer that one?
So we've heard that one a lot. And I think it was Hillary Clinton made a speech and made it very popular here in the US as well.
Yes.
But it takes a village to raise a child means that everybody in a child's surrounding is responsible for their upbringing, not just their mom and dad, but their neighbor, their teacher, the pastor. All of those influences help to bring up a child. So it's everyone's responsibility. It's not just the responsibility of mom and dad. That's what I'm understanding.
That's so true. Yes.
That is correct. Let me read one that is probably not, I think it's on the blog too, which says, if a puppy will grow into a dog or a hunting dog, you can tell by the way it sits by the fire. Or a variation of that proverb is also like a chicken. They say the chick that is going to grow into a rooster, you can tell, some say you can even tell it from the egg. That's how you can go. But the whole concept there is, you can judge or you can predict the future of somebody based on the behavior that they are exhibiting today, based on the characteristics that they are showing now, or their character. So you can tell if this dog is going to hunt by the way it sits by the fire. If it sits by the fire just like one so you can tell what that you can predict, something or someone what that's going to become based on the signs that person or that situation is showing right now. Daniel, you have any scenario that you can do that prediction?
Well, probably use it more in the sense as a caution to parents, right? When you see that your children are rude or unruly, just know that it is a prediction for the future and you have to curb it or nip it in the bud at that stage when they're young. So definitely, I think something that parents can use to help in their parenting, help them to caution how to bring up children.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing Liberian Proverbs, Liberian Parables, and Liberian Folktales. Right now, we are talking about Folktales or Proverbs. We are discussing Proverbs, and another African say Proverbs, they are like pepper and salt with which you eat cola. So you can, if you listen to an African gathering or a Liberian gathering where they are talking, there is no parable or there is no Proverbs, that conversation is very dry. So you will always have Proverbs in those conversations to enrich them. Back to you, Danielle.
Okay, so another one on your blog and that I hear often is teeth and tongue can fight, but they will never stop working together to eat. So what is that? Or is that the way that is said colloquially?
Yeah.
No, it's a little different. It says that if teeth and tongue can make flour, right? Because they're in the same space. So what about normal human beings? So in other words, it is natural that people from time to time will have differences. The only thing they have to do is they have to learn how to solve their differences and their problems. But it is natural that they will, from time to time, make flour, like talking to. Yeah.
And it says, but they will never stop living together. So they make flour in the mouth, they fuss, right? But have you seen a situation where the teeth are separate from the tongue? They still live together. So if they got nowhere.
Yeah, in the same house, they can't leave each other. Yeah.
And when you put a piece of banana there, both the tongue and the teeth will work together to chew that banana, right?
Yeah.
So even if you look at our Liberian situation, no matter what we do, what our differences are politically, we are like teeth and tongue. We can make palaver, we can make fuss, but we will never stop living together. We will never stop being Liberian. You can say today, well, I stopped being Liberian today, now I'm Sierra Leonean or I'm Ghanaian. So we are teeth and tongue. Let's fuss, but let us not stop working together, living together peacefully.
Okay. Dr. Seton, you have another one?
Yes, please. If you play with Puppy will lick your mouth.
So, what's the interpretation with that?
Mr. Jar?
The interpretation there is it's always learning to draw a line. Okay, we draw that line of how you relate to people, especially when it comes to people way younger than you, or that are of different status. Okay, there's a way you relate to them. You don't relate to them forgetting that you are older or forgetting the position you hold. Elsewhere, if they start to disrespect you, because that's how you related to them. So they will say, hey, if you play with your puppy, the little dog, that dog is going to lick your mouth. It's going to disrespect you and do it publicly, and you don't have to complain because that's how you carry yourself.
Yeah, you cannot complain. You ask for it,
Yeah.
you provoke it. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. Let's go forward. We have so another popular one in Liberia. As I said, we like the animals. So now we're going to the leopard. Of course, in Liberian folklore, the leopard is a very important animal. He's king of the jungle, right, in Liberia. So there are a lot of sayings about Mr. Leopard. So this one says leopard does not change his spots, right? Miss Knuckles, have you seen leopard change his spots?
And no, so I guess with that one, it means a person is who they are.
Yes.
Shouldn't expect them to change.
Yes.
If someone
Mm-hmm.
is mean, I guess you can't expect them to be nice to you or expect them to be generous to you. It shouldn't be a surprise if they are not generous to you. So just that accept people for who they are or believe people for who they are.
Yes. You can expect what.
You are who you are, You're a leper, you have your spouse, that's what. And so it has to do with your character. There's another one that you see that go along with that, which is like your character is like your shadow. You can, when the sun has not come out, you may succeed in hiding your shadow, right? But it's still going to show and it's going to follow you wherever you go. You can succeed in hiding that shadow, but soon the sun comes up, it exposes your shadow. It exposes it and say, "Hey, there you are." So in the same way, you can succeed in hiding who you are from certain people at certain point, but no matter what happens, it's still going to come up.
Amen. Yes, that's so true.
Another one I hear a lot, and I think I also hear this one just amongst Americans. If your house does not sell you, the street will not buy you. So basically, I understand that one to mean if the people who know you are saying something about you, that is what people are going to believe because those are the people that know you. So if they go out and say, "Oh, so and so doesn't like to take a bath," you're gonna believe them because you live with them, or you know them, or you're close to them. So to me, also that's a caution in who you keep around you. It's a caution in the message that people are putting out there about you. You want to make sure that the people closest to you are putting out the messages that you want out there about yourself.
Okay, that's good, Miss Knuckles. Supposing we look at people who are close to you, there's another one. There's another proverb that deals with that. It says that you have to sit close to the person who will cut off your ear. Mr. John?
Yeah.
You have to sit close to the person who will cut off your ear.
Wow, so it's like again the same kind of concept. The person who's going to be the one to harm you will be someone who you are close to.
Yes. The person cannot be a mile away from you and cut off your ear. That's not possible, right? Yeah. It has to be someone who is close to you. In other words, right from your surroundings. Yes. So that's in fact that's a Bible thing. The Bible people say that a lot. I've heard it several times in Bible.
Yeah.
I see we also have one of our hosts, and Sony Sia on Facebook writes, what about monkey can't leave its black hands behind? So I think that one is similar to the leopard can't change its spots.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's another one I believe is also listed on Mr. Jobs' blog.
Mm-hmm. Can we look at the monkey?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's see. I think we have one here about the monkey. They say monkey see, monkey do. Monkey see, monkey do. Yes. So in other words, if you don't want people to imitate you, then you have to set a good example. Because when people see what you do, they want to emulate you and do what you did. So you have to be careful about your actions. because when people see it, they want to do it. Hmm.
And it goes to our parents. Sometimes you complain that the kids are not acting right, and then somebody will
Mm-hmm.
tell you, they're getting it from you because monkey see,
Mm-hmm.
monkey do.
Monkey see, monkey do.
And when I was going to school, in my earlier years, my teachers, a lot of my teachers were from the Caribbean, and so they have a lot of proverbs and parables too, um, very similar to Africa. So
Mm-hmm.
I remember one teacher, she added to that a proverb. She said, "Monkey see, monkey do, monkey get in trouble too." So
Uh-huh.
just because you see your friend doing something, you follow them, especially if they're doing something that they're not supposed to. You and your friend will both get in trouble. So you have to be careful about who you follow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's the same thing again with just it comes back to this other proverb. Good luck, slippery when you stop, right?
Yeah.
Because your friend can do it and get away with it, but when you go to do it, you get caught.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's another one. That's a good one. Um, there's another one about the monkey. It's a monkey word, baboon draw. You know that one, Mr. Jan? You've heard that
Yeah,
one?
monkey walks, bamboo draws.
Yes.
And it has been like a political proverbs in Liberia. I think the great writer Baltimore should have a poem or a story about that. But
Mm-hmm.
there is, you know, in most of in our or Liberian setting, the bamboo is normally the one that uses force, and monkey
Mm-hmm.
is the clever one.
Mm-hmm.
So when monkey is the one that put in the hard work to do something, but then or no, bamboo is the one putting in the hard work to do something, and it's monkey that is benefiting. So if that happens,
No,
you
it's
say
the other way around. It's the other way around.
exactly okay. Bamboo works, bamboo put in the hard work, and then monkey benefits.
No, no. You see, Babu is big,
Oh,
okay?
Hmm.
So
What's
he
up?
doesn't have to do a lot of work because he's strong. People are afraid of
Mhm.
him. So monkey works, right? Monkey thinks, monkey works, monkey jumps from tree to tree. And
I
then when he has accumulated the food and collected the food, then Babu comes. Of course, monkey is afraid of Babu because he's
I
big and strong.
see.
So Babu will get it. Yeah, it's a political thing too. In other words, the people work hard, and the big man, the baboon, he enjoys. Right? You understand what I'm saying?
I tell you the other way, it's the monkey that works, but it's the bamboo
Yes,
who comes and
yes,
draws it.
yes.
So,
Because he's big, he's strong. He's a big man. Yeah. So that's why we say, yeah, monkey work, baboon draw.
and there is another proverb that's connected to it. They say bamboo uses monkey's hand to get a palm nut from the fire. Because people roast palm nuts,
Amen.
right? But
Yeah.
instead of bamboo using his own hand, again showing strength, uses monkey's hand to get it. So everybody knows monkey is at fault. But actually, it's bamboo, the guy, the big guy who's really doing it.
Yeah, he's sitting in the back, he's quiet, and then Babu goes and does the dirty work, and then Babu enjoys the palm nut when monkey takes it out of the fire. Yeah. Yeah. You know, in French, let me go a little bit further. In French literature, they had a man by the name of La Fontaine. He was a poet, and he was at Louis the XIV's court. So when, of course, you couldn't criticize Louis the XIV. He was the Sun King, this powerful man in France. So, but La Fontaine could say anything he wanted about Louis the XIV because he didn't write Louis the XIV's name. He said everything in parables, in animal allegories and parables, right? So he talked about the hound, the fox, the lamb, and that's the same thing our people do. We use animals to talk about people in our society, and when we don't want people to know that we talk.
We may have lost Dr. Seton there for a moment. Um, Dennis, you are on mute right now, but
can you
I'm
hear?
going to the next one that also includes Dennis. Are you back? Okay. Yeah. So I guess Dr. Seton will join us again momentarily. We're talking about baboon. Another proverb we have is when baboon offers you banana, imagine how many he got in his stomach.
So bamboo loves to eat banana, right? So if bamboo gives you banana, maybe it's four, right? So before bamboo gave you banana, just imagine how many bamboo got in your stomach. So this got to do with certain offers, right? That you should be very much suspicious of. And when they offer you, because let's say someone is corrupt, this person is corrupt, and now this person is offering you some money that you think sometimes you don't even deserve or you don't work for. So that should give you a clue that this corrupt guy just wants me to be part of his sinister, his dubious act. So if monkey that is notorious for eating bananas, sometimes even stealing bananas, is giving you bananas, don't just take it. You should be cautious. It could be a trap.
I like that one. Another one from your site I see says a crocodile cannot leave from under the waters and come on land to ask deer for a drink. So with that, I take it, crocodile can come from where there's water and then come to a land animal and ask them for something to drink. When I read that, I think about all of Africa. For the most part, a lot of our hands are always out looking to the Western world, IMF, or whoever for money. I need money, yet we're coming from these countries with all these resources. Why haven't we figured out how to take our resources and create our own wealth or create money for ourselves? So we're like the crocodile asking the deer for water. That's how I interpret that one.
You are correct. We are in the water, and you coming on land to ask the deer for water. People will question, who is this guy? And again, you give a perfect example about Africa. Africa, we are leaving the forest. In fact, we are leaving where we grow the rice, and we come to America to buy rice. People now living in the interior going to Monrovia to get pusawa. That's wrong.
Okay, the parables and the folklore. Yeah. So before you begin, Mr. Ja, I just want to let the audience know that Mr. Ja is an author and a great storyteller. So I'm looking forward to hear what you have to share with us today.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, our second part is on parables. Most of the time when people say parables, we get confused. We confuse them with proverbs. But as Daniel defined our proverbs earlier, those are short statements, like an old saying, wise saying. When it comes to parables, think about the parables Jesus told in the Bible, like the parables of the sower, the parable of the mustard seed. These are stories that are intended to teach a moral or spiritual lesson. So I'm going to tell one story which is going to teach a lesson. That's a parable. Okay? And this story is about, fly and bee, honeybee. Do you know that it was fly that God really called to make honey? Yes. So God invited fly to make honey and to give the recipe for making honey. So while fly was listening to God's recipe, bee was just alone behind the house just eavesdropping. So fly got the recipe to make honey. So when fly went home, with the recipe. Bees just eavesdrop. Probably bees did not get 100% of the recipe. But when fly got home, fly, the first thing they did, they called a meeting of all the flies so as to make the big announcement. Day 2, they decided to have another meeting to set up committees on how they will go about producing the honey. Day 3, how they're going to sell their proceeds, how they're going to sell their surplus, and what they're going to do with the proceeds. Day 5. So they were all going on. And it's a good thing to plan. Fly kept planning, but what bees did, when bees got that little recipe, bees went right away with just the little they got and started to make honey. And started put everything together, say, well, this is what I heard and blah, blah, blah. We need to make honey and this is what we're going to do. So bees went straight to work without procrastination. At the end of the day, bees came out with the first honey and it was so sweet. By the time bees already produced honey, was there any need for fly to make honey? So fly went back to her and said, but God, I was the one you gave the recipe. He said, well, you wasted time. So right now, fly got so disgusted that he was not able to make honey. So guess what fly did? Fly ran away from the sight of God and went to the place. You know where fly is today. Anywhere something smells, who you find there? Fly. It was so disgusted. So the moral of the story is, sometimes you feel that you are in a privileged position. Let's say you have a parent, you have heard stories about the parent and then the child staying with your father. Sometimes all the advice that your parent gave you, you don't even put them to use wisely, but it was the servant or the one who was maybe passing just one day, because when we are close to opportunity, we don't make use of it. So fly that was in God's house listening did not make use, but bee that were on the outside just eavesdropping, took advantage of it and put it to use. When the thing is not with you, you don't take it, to be that important. I mean, when you have it every day. Sometimes when you are close to people that, give good advice, you take things for granted. But when you are far from it, take our kids, for instance. They are in America, they take things for granted, but bring a kid who does not have that opportunity. Probably sometimes they make good use of it. So anytime you are doing something and your mom will tell you, listen to me, my son. Fly was listening to God. Bees were right all the way behind the house, and it was bee who eavesdropped and got the recipe. So while you are in front of me, I'm telling you this, please pay attention. How you like that?
That's a good one. I haven't heard that one before. What else have you got?
That's on parable. Another parable is there was this man who went in the bush, deep in the forest. He saw a skull, very old skull. So he said, skull, what brought you here? He said, the same thing that brought me here will bring you here. He said, what? A skull is talking. So he took the skull home and made a big announcement and said, I found a skull that can talk. They said, no, this is a lie. A skull never talks. He said, no, there's a skull can talk. I have a skull here that can talk. They said, well, this is not true. He said, okay, I can make a skull talk. So the king heard this. So the king said, if you can make a skull to talk, I give you half of my kingdom. But if the skull does not talk, we're going to cut your neck off. He was so sure. He said, yeah, if the skull does not talk, cut off my neck. So he took the skull, the very old skull, home and said, skull, what brought you here? The skull couldn't talk. They did everything for the skull could talk. The skull couldn't talk. So, and the rule there is if you cut somebody's head off, you got to take them back in the forest because you can't bury them at home. So when the skull couldn't talk, and based on the promise they made with the king, so they beheaded this guy and took his skull in the bush, in the forest. So by the time they put his skull down, the skull started talking. He said, the same thing that brought me here, now brought you here. What the skull was saying, it was your mouth. There are certain things you see control your mouth. So anytime your people are telling you about, watching what you say, they use that parable. That is, You as a child, it is not everything that you say you're going to talk about that you're going to run your mouth. People always want you to keep secrets, so they say. So if you don't do that, the same thing that took this, because that's called ran his mouth. That's why he was beheaded, and you fell in the same trap.
That's a good one. Be careful what you say and around who you say it.
Last but not the least will be the folktales. And if you are just joining us, we are discussing Liberian Proverbs, Liberian Parables, and Liberian Folktales. So what you need to do, you can ask your question, you can share with us your own folktales, your own proverbs, and your own parables. Now, on folktales are those stories that are passed down from generation to generation. Some of those folktales also, like parable, carry a lesson, or they tell us why certain things are a certain way. Do you know why chickens drink little water? And every time a chicken drinks, what do you see, Danielle, when a chicken drinks water? Well, how does the chicken act? Or a bird. What's about a bird?
It kind of picks at it, right?
Right.
Picks the beak.
Picks the beak and then show the beak to upright to swallow the water, right? And here's the reason why. So chicken drink a little bit of water, and anytime chicken drink water, chicken will show the water to God for inspection. So the chicken will look up, right? There was a party when God made all the animals, everything. God had a party for them to eat and be sent in the world. So when the food was, when they were ready to eat, they said chicken to go get water. You know what chicken did? Chicken refused. Chicken did not go, and then you know God now. He said if you don't work, you shouldn't eat. So while they were eating, chicken was kind of choking, and chicken wanted to drink. He said, but God said, you didn't go for the water, so you can't drink. So what happened was, God is God of mercy. So at the end of the day, he said, okay, chicken, because I'm merciful, I'm going to let you to drink. But you're going to drink a little bit of water, and then anytime you pick the water, show it to me. Let me make sure that it's not even more than 1 teaspoonful. So that's why anytime chicken is drinking, we'll put a beak in the water and say, God, yeah, there, it's not even 1 teaspoonful. So how does chicken drink again, Danielle?
Let it speak up.
Chicken will always, from that chicken family, anytime they drink, will always display to God and say, here is it.
So, stories like I remember my cousins when I was younger, they were telling me about, I think, Kakakolo or something like that. So what Kakakolo or something like that? Um, well, I think that one was the story they would tell you when people are on bunk beds and why you shouldn't be on the top bunk bed. That it was this, I don't know, lady, and I don't know, something happened with her legs, and she will only get the children on the top bunk. Have you heard that story before?
No, I'm not familiar. But one thing is because anytime we're traveling, so you will find out that we are afraid. So normally the person who is in front is the brave guy, right? And then if you are behind, because let's say you are walking on a road, so most of the time the one who is scary will always want to be in the middle. So there are stories that the devil or the jinna will always grab someone from the middle, just to let you. So they have some stories along those lines. But let me tell you why, anytime you see a dead frog, when a frog dies, the frog always lay on his back and show the hands and the limbs towards heaven. And you know why is that? Yeah. Because all the animals join up and they said, for men, for human being to be their leader was not right. Hold on 1 second. Oh, sorry.
If you're just joining us.
Yeah, Dr. Seton is back,
Okay.
and we didn't notice.
Yeah. But this is so interesting, it's so informative.
Right. So we also want to open our phone lines for our people to call in and tell us. Ooh, hold on. We are going to open our phone lines. Okay, we want to open our phone lines and let people call in to contribute. But before I tell that story, let me tell you about why goat has a short tail. Sometimes you will hear that they will say, oh, because goat tail short. Because goats always wanted a longer tail, right? Yeah. Our people don't want for you to, they want for you to always put yourself last, right? Our community frown on you saying, okay, this, I want to get the best. Or I should be the first to get. You should always be last. That's a sign of humility. So when God was dividing all the tails, goat always wanted a big tail. So, but in goat's mind, the longest tail was going to be the last in the bag. So when they took out the tail for like animals like a horse, goat was in line, right? They all in line. Goat were almost at the top of the line. But anytime goat will push back one step so you can get the next tail, thinking that next tail going to be longer. Every time God has big holy bag. When you open it to take tail from there, then goat will dress back because goat get big heart, want a big tail. Our people don't like for you to have big heart or to desire things for yourself. So every time they were dividing the tail, goat always moving backwards because his intention was he wanted to get the longest tail. What he didn't know was the tail were being distributed based on their length. So the longest tail was the first. So goat kept dressing back until at the end of all the tails were finished, and the only tail that left was that little short piece of tail that God just took and gave to goat. That's why today goat has a short tail.
Mm-hmm. But our people have a.
Dr. Seton, you want to say something?
No, you finish.
I said it's a similar story about chicken. So they will say in Liberia, they will say, forget it, make chicken and get teeth. Because when they want for chicken to get teeth, say, oh, forget it. In fact, it was just postponing. Forget it, I'm okay, forget it. Thinking that they were going to get the teeth later. Until all the distribution of teeth were finished. That's why today chicken get no teeth. So they will tell you, anytime you try to do something, you say, oh, forget it. You say, oh, forget it, make chicken get teeth. Daniel, you ever heard that?
No, I haven't heard that.
No, we haven't heard that. No, that's new. Yeah. But Mr. Ja, why do they say that kind heart gives 90 goat short tail? We have a.
It's the same understanding, right? Because goat wanted the next person to get the tail, right? So when goats dress back, the way other people perceive it was because goat was saying, hey, you get first. Even though that trick goat were playing. Goat was not really kind to the other animals. Goat was playing trick to get the longest tail. So he acted like he was kind to say, okay, let the other person get first before me. Then goat would dress back. So kind heart gave Nanny goat short tail.
Okay. All right, that's interesting. You learn something new every day.
When I was growing.
Yes. No matter how old you are, you learn something every day. Yes, that's so interesting.
When I was growing up and my parents asking me why I did something, sometimes say, oh, I thought it was this, or I thought. And so my dad would always tell me, you know what, tall, razor blade with toilet tissue.
Yes.
So basically, don't think no before you act on something.
Exactly. And you know, in Liberia too, what we do, we also have riddles. You know, we also have these stories that we're not going to go into it, but just to let you know, sometimes they would tell you, like, for instance, they would say a man, you know, traveling with goat, with rice, and with leper. Then they get to a water, and there's a canoe. The canoe can only take two persons. How do you cross all your stuff? So if you put the leper and yourself in the canoe to cross, then the goat will eat the rice. If you if you take the rice first, then the leper will eat the goat. So what do you do? So it's a kind of story. So people will start giving their answers. Okay, I will take the leper. If soon you say I will take the rice first, they say, oh, then the leper will eat the goat. Then you say, oh, I will take the goat first. First you say I will take the leper first. Say, then the goat will eat the rice. So the answer will be, which I want people to. These are things that you think about. He said, so the man will take the goat first. So when you take the goat, now when you come back and if you take the rice, then the goat will eat the rice. When you take the leper, so that's kind of thing. So Danielle, can you think about a solution?
Oh man, I'm thinking about it now. And you can only bring one thing in the boat with you at a time.
It's a canoe. It's not a boat.
Oh, canoe. Okay.
So you can only take one. The canoe can only take two. So it either be you and the leper, you and the rice, or you and the goat.
I guess I said me and the. So if I take me and the goat over.
Then what you get next?
Because then if you bring the rice over, then the goat will eat the rice. If you bring the leopard over, then the leopard will eat the goat.
But remember now, while you are there, there's no eating going to take place. So that's a clue.
I would think the leper first.
Then the goat will eat the rice.
Oh my God, that's a difficult one.
Yeah, what's the answer?
So that tells you that we are smart in the villages, right? All right.
You better know it. Yeah.
So here is the answer. And viewers, if you are watching, please give us your answer. So what you do, let's say, let me lead you into that, and then you can think about the answer. So if you take the goat first, right? Then when you come back, you take what? You take one thing. So you take the goat first, so you have the leper and the rice. Right. So when you are coming back, you come back. So when you're coming back now, you can bring the leper.
Yeah.
No, when you're coming back, you can come and get the. No, what did I say? You take first. You take the goat first. So when you're coming back, bring one. You come for one, but then when you leave in, do not leave that there. Bring it back. You follow? But I'm not going to tell you what is that. So let's say you take one item first. You drop it across the river.
I see.
So the next time you go in, you take another item. But when you're coming back, bring back one item to leave on the other side. Then you can take the rice to be with the leper, and then you come for the goat.
Okay, so you get the goat, you bring it to the other side.
Right.
Come back, you get the rice. You take it to the other side, and then you bring the goat back with you. And then you leave the goat. This time you take the leopard. You carry the leopard to be with the rice. Then you go back and get the goat. And then then all three will be on the other side. I see.
That's a hard one.
So we tell these stories are told, these riddles are told, and people kind of try to find the answer and they go for days, sometimes trying to find that answer. And we also tell some short riddles like this one. You say, and because I come from Sino and I was in a village, so we say, my sister in Greenville sent me a towel. But since I bought that towel, the towel never dry. It's always wet. What is it? Remember now, we also have the more urban riddles like, something crying and, like candle, those kind of things. So this one is a towel. My sister bought me a towel which is always wet. What is it?
A towel that's always wet?
Yeah, it's never dry. It's always wet.
It's a handkerchief?
It's a towel, but it's always wet.
A good one.
And when you say, I don't know, then they say, that's your tongue. Your tongue looks like a towel and is always wet. So we have those kind of short riddles, or they say, old lady on the hill crying and it's like candle because you light the candle and that's tears coming down. So those kind of things too happen. Those kind of short riddles, they happen in the village.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
So I don't know if we have the phone number out there for the guests.
Yes, we have the phone number. Guess we need to put the phone number out there. Sorry, guys. Let's put the number out there for our guests. Danielle, can you read that number? Our 605. So, guys, if you're just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. If you want to join the conversation, please call our phone line. I thought it was already up there. Sorry about that. (605-313-6004). Let me pin that number quickly. Danielle, you can just continue. Let me pin the number quickly.
Okay, so once Dennis gets the number up there, you can call in and share your proverb, riddle, parable, or folklore that you know. We'd be happy to hear from you. Okay. And what's the phone number again? Okay. Okay, it's okay, slightly different from the one that's scrolling on the screen, but okay. Right, and while we're getting that together, I'll read another parable. And it says, this is also on Dennis's blog. When you invite a drunk to your party, be prepared to clean his vomit. Right. And so when I when I read that one, I thought on Liberia again, in the political sense. Sometimes we vote for people, or even America, sometimes we vote for people who show us who they are, but yet we're expecting them to behave differently once they are elected. So that's what I thought of when I read that parable. That proverb. Right. We can't hire people who are incompetent, or people who are voting people who have no understanding of the law or their responsibilities, and then expect them to do an amazing job.
Exactly.
Change his heart.
Right.
Listen, yeah,
Yeah, very
can be
similar.
what they are not.
Exactly. And so whoever you bring into your company, be prepared to live with the result, to bear the consequences, whatever that person does, because that's the person you invited. Because if you bring someone to your party, that's someone that you trust, you know that person, you have that camaraderie. So if that person starts to display, and you know the person character, the person already are drunk, so you know they're going to get drunk, you know they're going to vomit, you know they're going to misbehave, and so you should be ready because you invited them.
Another one that Dennis always says is we sit on the old mat to plait the new. And I've heard him tell that to some guests as well during discussions, that we have to have respect for the old, right? And keep that in mind as we look to create something new.
Yeah.
Daniel, it is very common among us to despise, people that have the experience and the age and think that we are young and we are vibrant. And so we don't even need anything from them. We can just go ahead and implement and execute. Because we are young, we are vibrant, we're ready to move. But, that old mat, because that's what gave you the template. That's the template. So if you're learning how to do something new, you use the experiences of the past. You use what was there before. You are not going to apply it exactly as the old, but you see how it was done, and that gives you, the opportunity to do something better, bigger, and newer. So always remember, don't throw the old away before you start doing something new. You may either duplicate unnecessarily, you may make a lot of mistakes, but if you want to learn from the old, use the old as the backdrop to spring into the new.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that stood out to me was being extended an invitation to dine does not make you a kinsman. I thought about, once again, Africa. We think that because we are part of the UN or they invite us to some of these meetings, that the superpowers look at us as though we are equals. But that's not true. And it says
That's
it
not true.
in their actions and their policies. It shows.
Right. And we should always remember where we come from, right? Sometimes they say no matter how the stump or the stick stay in the water, it's never going to turn into a fish. You are stick. So no matter how long we even stay here, and they even give us papers to tell us we are something else, but we will always remain who we are. And because somebody invited you, there's always a tendency that because someone look at you, because they always tell to us, by the time some people are your friend, they say, oh, you are different from the rest of them. Oh, how come you speak English and the other people don't? How come you do this and the other people don't? They're just trying to divide you. Not because that person invited you, you're in their living room now, so you're part of their family. Always know where you come from and behave, act accordingly. Know your roots.
And another one I want to share is when someone is washing your back, it is best to bathe your own stomach. Right? So that makes me think of the other proverb, God helps those who help themselves. And sometimes even those of us in the diaspora may send, money, family in Liberia, but it's like sometimes it feels like it's never enough, like they may depend on you 100%. And it's like, okay, I will help you, but you try to help yourself too, or you try to bring something for yourself also. So I like that one.
Right.
And best to maybe own stomach.
And the legendary Jones Dopo said that in his song when he was talking about, he said all NGOs are here to help us, Liberia recover from war. But while they are washing our back, at least let's do the little you can, because you can reach your stomach. Your hand may not be able to reach to your bag, but at least you can get to your stomach. So while the others are helping you, do what you can for yourself. Don't just be helpless and depend on international community, or you depend on partners, implementing partners. I don't really believe there's any group called international community. Everybody look out for themselves and their people. The other countries, they are helping their people from the taxes they pay. What makes you think that they should take their taxes and give it to you to fight or whatever you want to fight? And you call our partners, our international partners, our development partners. No, those people also are making business. But if they can wash your back, please wash your own stomach.
Okay, and then I have one more that I like that I said, okay, I want to make sure I understand it. It says it takes one foolish person and one wise person to build a town.
Mm-hmm.
So it is.
Normally, what we hear is two heads are better than one, right? So those two heads, sometimes, when two wise people, or two of you smart, if smart people together, sometimes they don't accomplish anything, right? It's almost like on light particles attract and light particles repel. Of course, if the two of you are, foolish, nothing will get accomplished because you make foolish ideas. If the two of you are too wise, that is, nothing gets done. You argue about everything. You argue on your points. But it always takes, one say, okay, let me, not necessarily you have to be stupid, but one submitting, even though it takes you to agree with the other person, even if they're not making sense for you to get something accomplished. So in that sense, they say, one foolish man, you may look at me as foolish because, I accept it. We can't argue points throughout. We can't always stand on our right. When the war was in Liberia and every warring faction was correct, everything, everybody want to stand on their importance. So they say, in that case, they say it will take one foolish person, or it will take one person to behave foolish, or to behave like, okay, you get best. Even though I'm right, but I'm willing to waive my right for the sake of the community, for the sake of peace.
I like that. Well, Dr. C, do you have any other parables you wish to share before we close the program?
No, I don't. I don't think so. But I learned a lot
Yes.
from you and Mr. Ja this evening. And I consider myself the little child that came to the meeting, and I learned a lot from your wisdom and from your insight, Mr. Ja and Ms. Knuckles. Okay? So thank you for inviting me, and thank you for the lesson.
Yes, you are welcome. You're always welcome here, Dr. Seton. Thanks for always showing up and sharing your wisdom with us whenever we call on you. And Dennis, thank you to your wealth of knowledge. Please go and visit his blog, which is in the chat right now, stereotypeliberia.wordpress.com /Liberian-Proverbs. But if you just go to stereotypeliberia.wordpress.com, there's a link there for Liberian Proverbs, and he has over 100 proverbs listed there. So share it with your children. Allow it to be a conversation starter for you and the children. But thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you have learned something tonight. And that you can use this to just share a little bit about your culture with your children. Mr. Ja, before we go.
I want to thank everyone for listening. This Proverbs, my brother Dave, Ja, and I, our first book was a novel, The Notebook of a Warrior. It recounts, it's a fictional account of someone who fought in the Liberian Civil War, and this person was dying at a refugee camp in Guinea, Zerikode, where we both were. So we have that. Unfortunately, that book is out of print. We also published, After the Long Night, a collection of folk tales from Liberia that we published. And then what we're working on now is that collection of proverbs. So just put on that blog, the stereotype. That blog was a creation of Dr. Zombo and I. We work on that blog. So I just decided to put some proverbs there so that people will see. And these proverbs are not from just me. These are things that I heard around growing up. Also from the Liberian proverbs that we say almost every day in Liberia, like chicken wire, those kind of things. We try to put them together so that the next generation behind us can have something to look at as a reference point. So, and then growing up in a village as a child, we were always after knowledge. Anyone who spent a night in the village would stop them to tell us stories. So that's how I collected, and I'm very keen to people talking to me. If there's any proverbs that you say, I will pick that up and I will document it. Like I was in Guinea and somebody told me, say, when you are dancing with a blind man, it's always good to touch them so that they know that you are still in the dance, right? The person is blind, they can't see. They can't even, so how do they know that you are still dancing? That's provide periodic updates to people that you are working with. Other than that, they don't even know. It's COVID-19, sometimes call somebody and say, hey, how are you? Then they know that you are there. But if you don't touch them, they don't know that you are dancing. So we want to thank all of you for your time tonight. Kind of relaxed. We want to be not too formal. And at least we have one person who responded here. Where Brian was responding to the radio. I just want to read what she wrote before he said, you take the goat, leaving the leper with the rice. Come back and take the leper. Leave the rice on your back, bring the goat. On your way back, bring the goat. Leave the goat, take the rice. That is, the rice and the leper will be there. And then when you return and go and get the goat. Yes, whether you are 100% correct. And keep them coming at Focus on Liberia. We talk everything. We do it all. So your suggestions, everything, really, really appreciated. And we'll go back to Danielle, who will be closing us tonight.
Yes. Again, thank you to our audience for joining us. Please share the video. I know other people may be doing things right now, but share it with your relatives and friends who have children, and encourage them to share it with their children. We want to make sure that our culture, our traditions are not lost and that they're passed down to our children, even though we may not all still be in Liberia. So thank you for joining. As always, we're here every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be back on Sunday with something new, informative, educational for you. So thank you.
Thank you.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home. Liberia people. Liberia, everyone. Liberia, everyone. Liberia, Liberia.